Meeting, the July meeting of the Stark County Board of Supervisors to order. We'll start out with roll call. Okay, very good. Everybody's present. If you'd all rise for a silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you all received an agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Waddle, second by Gray. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, you were sent the minutes from the June 18th, 2024 monthly meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I would look for a motion to approve it. Motion by Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Bossard. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're at a point where we're gonna have public comments. I'll just read, please keep in mind, the county board will not be able to respond to your comments or ask any questions. Your comments are informational only. If further action is required, your comments or concerns will be directed to the appropriate department or committee for response. We do have one tonight, Sam Wood.
Well, here we are again. Same shit, different day, and some new shit I find disturbing. Old business. Still waiting on the resignation or termination of Brian Freimark and George Nye. I see my issues were put on the agenda for a committee meeting, but due to attendance, it was tabled. Guess what never happened? It was never brought up again. With it actually being on an agenda item, it should be moved to old business every meeting until it is resolved. I'm sure corporate counsel can give you some guidance on that. Now on to new business. The mowing of the ditches in the county roads is non-existent, and this has become a serious safety issue. It needs to be addressed. Snow plowing this past winter, epic fail. Ditch mowing, epic fail. These are two things that happen every year. There's nothing new, yet Brian cannot seem to get it done. His incompetence is not shining. It's glaring. I don't want Brian's normal bullshit excuses where we hear like the lack of manpower or he needs some fancy new mower to get the job done.
Sam,
I want him.
let's keep the language to family program.
Can I have my minutes back?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want the job. I just want him to get the job done. Maybe he needs to get out of his office and mow. Maybe he needs to work Friday and Saturday himself mowing. He is in charge. We paid him for a job. So stop the BS and hold them accountable. Now, the rest of the new business. Our sheriff, who is elected by the same people you are, comes to you and asks for body cams, and he's told no. Are you shitting me? You found the money for this building. You found $6,000 a day for Brian Freimark last year, and now you want to make this a budget issue? Figure it out. Taxpayers want it, deputies want it, the DA wants it, the sheriff wants it, yet some of you actually justify saying no body cams. I've already advised the sheriff to call another meeting, and we the citizens demand a roll call vote. I will be teaming up with the sheriff and show him how the power of social media can help him get what he needs. Hold you accountable. You are really want to make this political with another elected official? I suggest you make this a bigger priority than the time you spent figuring out the plaque for this building and all the pictures you took. Thanks.
Okay, there is no unfinished business. We'll move into new business. reports and presentations. First will be the county administrator's monthly report with the Corporation Council Interim Administrator Ruth Selski.
Good evening, everybody. So we, as you know, the EV charging stations are up. They had been working, but they were not charging a rate. We did do some research into that, and the governor had signed a bill back in March indicating that any charging stations put in by a municipality that were available for public use after March 22nd had to charge a reasonable rate, so that it is not being subsidized. So we did set that up. They were turned off for a few days while we were getting the kinks worked out. They're back up and running now. We're charging a kilowatt per hour rate. We talked to Alliant, and so it will cover the cost of the machine. So we're charging what is being charged to us to run that. As part of that new law, we also will have to start in January paying the 3-cent excise tax that the state has put in. They said that that is going to be required to be paid by all entities having charging stations available to the public, whether they're governmental or not. So I've been in contact with the Department of Revenue. They will be completing their registration applications later this fall, and then we will be on the list to get that application, and I'll be working with Jess in the treasurer's office to make sure that we pay those taxes timely. The budget sheets have gone out to the departments. They are starting to work on their numbers. Sarah sent out budget hearings. So Sarah and I will be meeting with all of the departments regarding their budgets starting the first part of September, so that we can have that put together and presented to the county board in October. This afternoon, County Board Chair Jarvis and I met with some of our neighbors here behind the building. They had come to us about a month ago with some concerns from our building project and the service road, and people driving on the service road all night long. And some issues with when the delivery trucks came, they were leaving their trucks running. So we have been working with them. We have resolved some of their issues. We have a couple more issues that we need to work on. We're working with facilities on that. I've been in touch with the sheriff's department and the city police department. They're kind of monitoring when people are driving through here after hours. Hopefully it won't come to having to gate off the service entry, that we can get that resolved. But that meeting went well today, I thought, and we'll meet with them again next month to continue working on that. The facilities department has almost finished organizing the remaining property at the courthouse and the North Annex. So next week I will be reaching out to all of the departments to make sure that they have all of the equipment that they need. And then we will be opening that up to some of our community partners. I've had a library and a police department ask me about some equipment, and then the rest of that will go up for public auction and sale. So we can get some money for some of those things that we are no longer going to be needing. Thursday at the facilities meeting, we'll be talking about the parking situation. The city did advise us that they had passed an ordinance not allowing parking on the city side of Town Line or on Division Street. I'm not sure how often that has been happening, but we do know that there has been some shortage of parking, especially like at jury trials. So we will be discussing the options on Thursday and looking forward to finding a way to move forward on that. And then the last thing is that the sheriff's department, along with EMS, emergency management, local fire departments, and local police departments, will be hosting a national night out at the fairgrounds August 6th from 5 to 8. So that would be a good time to come out and meet all of the public safety personnel in the county, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout for that. And that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have any questions for Ruth? Okay, thank you. All right, our second is the Register of Deeds annual report with our Register of Deeds, Heather Struzinska.
Good evening. So this is probably going to be the shortest annual report I've given in 11 years, so it's your lucky night. And I will not be able to read that, so I'm glad I brought my cheat sheet and my cheaters. All right, so this is for last year. 2023. As of March of this year, I am back to being fully staffed. That includes myself, a full-time deputy and a part-time deputy.
Sorry.
Okay. So one of the key things that we do in our office is that we record documents that have to do with land records. In 2023, it was not our best year in the last 5 years. Previously, like last year, I shared comparisons of numbers from 2019 versus 2023 year to date. And I always refer back to 2019 because I call that what was normal versus what came after that. But I'm happy to say that at the end of 2023, we were actually only down 1% compared to 2019. So I count that as a win. There was a map that was created by the Department of Administration that was based on state fiscal years, and that was a comparison of recorded documents from 2021 to 2023, and it showed that Waushara County was down 29%. Based on the calendar year, I show that that was actually only 19%. So just different months calculating. And 2024 is already looking better than 2023 year to date. We're already up 9%, which again, to me indicates that we're getting back to prior to 2020 normal. Okay, vital records. So we issue vital records in our office: birth, death, marriage, and divorce certificates. Vital record issuance has remained pretty steady over the course of the years. It did drop a little bit in 2020 and 2019, or 2020, 2021. As with recorded documents, 2024 is already looking better than 2023. So again, I count that as a win. Other revenues and fees that are collected by our office, we have online access to our records, the real estate records. And while our online revenues are down somewhat this year so far, the land records modernization fee is actually up a little bit. This is reflective of there being fewer transactions, whether it's sales or refinances. Fewer title searches are needed for those types of transactions online. But the actual number of recordings is actually up a little bit, and $8 per $30 recording fee is actually what goes into that land records modernization account. And then this is just historically what the Register of Deeds has returned to the general fund. Again, 2023 was a positive, but not much. And then some accomplishments that we've had over the past year. My office conducts the county abstractor duties, so we do the tax foreclosure searches. These are typically 30 to 60 year searches. They're extremely time consuming. We will start 2024 searches probably by the end of this month, and I'm estimating that we'll be doing approximately 50 reports, most of which will be in the cities and villages. In May of 2023, we implemented tagless or e-return recording. And what this is documents can get submitted via paper or they can come in fully electronic. Some real estate companies, whether it's an attorney or title companies, they don't want to pay the charge for the e-recording, so they still send in the paper. What this allows us to do is we collect an agreement from those parties. We record the document in paper, it gets scanned. The agreement is that we can shred it after 30 days. And so there's no mailing of paper documents back out of our office. with the exception of, if we have conveyance documents, deeds, things like that, it is the one way that we can get our property fraud alert flyer out, so if we have a forwarding address for the buyer, we do still send those out with that flyer. So our software actually allows the program to calculate our savings in postage, envelopes, and labor. So in 2022, we spent $996 in postage. In 2023, that was 731. And according to the program, if you put in the envelopes and the labor savings, it was over $1,400. And so then year to date, this year already, we've only spent $200 in postage and have an approximate savings of $1,000, so. Property fraud alert, so that is a free, notification system that, our vendor offers through us. The ones that you see on the TV, typically you have to pay a monthly or quarterly subscription. They check our records periodically. Our property fraud alert, once we record a document and we index those party names, it sends that notification to whoever is signed up for it. So we still get quite a few inquiries daily, weekly. In 23, we had 248 subscribers. Year to date, we already have 176 this year. And then we started that program back in 2014 and we have over 1,600 subscribers, so also good. We survived the move, so we had 19 carts and over 600 oversized, very large heavy books. So we loaded those, the movers moved them and we unloaded them. We made it. We have really strong muscles to do it. All right, and then just some legislative items. In 2023, Wisconsin Act 235 passed. This is the Privacy Act for judicial officers. Probably the fastest legislation I have ever seen. It was drafted and passed within approximately 3 weeks. Our association is reviewing that act and gathering clarification from stakeholders and are hoping to possibly get a cleanup bill out there and ready to be passed prior to it going into effect April 2025. So we'll see. It's not always so black and white. So the Wisconsin Department of Revenue transfer fee, county versus state split, that did fail. The recording fee increase, that also failed, but it will be coming back. And then chapter 5943, which is the Register of Deeds section of the statutes. We put a draft together, it was reviewed, and then session ran out, so there was no, it didn't get any farther than that, but the drafters have our comments and feedback back, and so that should be coming back hopefully in the next few months. We should be able to go through that again. Talking points on that bill are basically just general cleanup, addition of definitions, reorganizing and simplifying it. Every time there was a new document type created or something, it was just blocked wherever there was room. So we're trying to organize that a little bit better, and then hopefully add some protection for the constituents as far as property fraud. So this slide is just a little bit more information about our property fraud alert system, and that's it. Questions, comments?
Heather, what's the chances of those county state fees split coming back? I thought that was
I have not heard. I know the recording fee is going to be brought back by the associations that spearheaded that one. The transfer fee one, that was started by the counties, so I don't know. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Heather? Okay, I see. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next we'll have the District Attorney's Office Annual Report with our District Attorney Matthew Lusink.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Lusink. If you haven't met me before, I am the district attorney for Waushara County. I was first elected in 2020, and I've been DA since January of 2021. So I have a staff of myself and then 2 assistant DAs, Josh Zamzo, who's been working for our office as an assistant since January of 2023. And then Daniel Ditter, who has been working for us since December of 2023. So he's still in his first year. He is still kind of undergoing that transition to being a full-time DA. What I've been trying to do is gradually get him into it, basically only assign him cases as they come into our office and then help him build that. So he's still very much a work in progress. And then Jennifer Kern and Sarah Witz are our office paralegals. They handle a lot of filing things like they file our criminal complaints after they've been sworn. Typically, they send things like summonses. They help with getting discovery out to defense counsel, and also with subpoenas as well. Then we also are assisted by Stephanie Howell, who is a Rusa paralegal, but she helps us primarily. One of our paralegals is out, but also in the juvenile realm. She typically is our juvenile paralegal as well. So then we also have Donna Claviter. She is our victim witness coordinator. Ms. Claviter is responsible for sending out the standard paperwork that we send out to victims in cases that we charge. She also sends out notifications of various hearings. She will help facilitate our office meeting with victims and other witnesses, and then she also handles when we have hearings and trials, coordinating our victims and our witnesses getting from our office to the courtroom. And then John Weismuller is our office's investigator. Typically his function is that if after we have a case that's received by the office, if we need follow-up done, primarily he will do that. Also, if we are meeting with witnesses, with victims prior to trial, and we are talking about the case, he'll be sitting in on that as well. Because if I meet with a victim or a witness, I need another witness in there so I don't become an essential witness for the case. So some of our office's responsibilities, obviously, any criminal offenses that occur within Waushara County, and that can be if they're referred by police departments, the different ones within the county. Most of our referrals come from the sheriff's department. After that, I would say probably city of Wautoma, then a little bit beneath that is village of Red Granite. Then I would say Wild Rose, Plainfield, Hancock. I think I've gotten maybe 1 or 2 referrals ever from the village of Coloma, but they're a part-time agency. And then state agencies can also refer things to us. Some examples would be the Department of Corrections can sometimes refer sex offender violations to our office. I believe it's Department for Consumer Trade Protection. They will sometimes send us referrals as well. And also the Division of Criminal Investigations can. We also handle special prosecutions. I don't believe we've handled one recently, but we have handled a couple since I took over. Typically the counties that will ask us would be Portage County, it could be Winnebago County or Marquette County, or Green Lake County, those counties. I have not had to farm out one from our county for a special cross in a while. It's been a couple of years since then. We also handle ordinances and traffic for the county. Mainly the sheriff's department, although now with OWIs, some of the municipalities are asking us to handle those as well. I believe both, Wautoma and I believe also Wild Rose at the very least send us their OWI referrals for OWI first violations. If you didn't know, first offense OWIs are not criminal in Wisconsin unless there are some exceptions, like if you have a minor in the vehicle or if someone's injured, but they're mostly non-criminal. We also provide legal updates to law enforcement and other trainings. I will typically take phone calls from law enforcement and they know they can call me anytime. So there's been several times I've gotten phone calls within the last month, I would say, from law enforcement during the night. And so they know they can do that. I also participate in our treatment court program. I attended a training for treatment court in April of this year. And so far, our numbers are, I think, higher than they've been in previous years. I think we're to the point where we may even start having a waiting list for treatment court, which is a fairly good thing. So some of the trends, and actually, as I was preparing for this, I noticed this is fairly similar to what I talked about when I gave the presentation in 2023. So 2023, we picked up a little bit. For those of you that were here in December of 23, when I gave my report then, you may remember from September of 2022 to January of 2023, I was the only prosecutor in the office. So I basically handled everything. I had to work with the court to make sure that I wasn't double booked at the same time. But then we hired Attorney Zamzo, and then at the end of the year, Attorney Ditter, although he wasn't really able to contribute much during that month. So we picked up a little bit. We're on track, I think, to be fairly similar to what we had last year. A similar number of jury trials as well. I think some of the big trend is the continued methamphetamine presence, although I'm a little encouraged by the types of cases that we've had this year as opposed to other years. Our new assistants are undergoing training. Both Attorney Zamzo and Attorney Ditter went to the spring conference, and I think they found that very beneficial. And then obviously we are getting used to having 2 courtrooms, and the issue, I put the public defender shortage as an issue. Where that affects us is that it keeps some of our cases open for a long time. We had 2 homicide cases. They were both charged. One was charged in the fall of 2023. One was charged in January of 2024. And they took months for the public defender's office to find an attorney to represent them. And kind of some of what's behind that is obviously the public defender has their own office and we get ours from the Winnebago office. They have a certain number of points that they accumulate based on the types of cases that they have. And when they reach their maximum, they can't take more than that. Or if they have a conflict, which can happen sometimes. So there are times where they have to request that other attorneys handle that. And it's been an issue. It's especially an issue in the northwestern part of the state where they have a really severe attorney shortage. But that's been an ongoing issue. Obviously, we changed courthouses like everybody else. Some of the things that's benefited our office is the layout of the DA's office is a lot more convenient than it was in the old courthouse. Any of you that had been in our office, it was kind of like going through a maze. My office was down a hallway, and then one of our ADAs was down a separate hallway, so we were really far apart from each other. And right now, everybody's pretty much centrally coordinated. I'm not too far from either of my assistants or from Ruth. And then we're also very close to the paralegals as well, so that makes things a lot more efficient. It also, our facilities for meeting with victims and witnesses are a lot better. We have what's called a soft room. Previously, when we were at the old courthouse, we had one small conference room. That's where we met with everybody. Now we have a room that's much more comfortable for victims to have meetings with our office. Furniture is more comfortable, but we also have a really convenient conference room as well. I found that it's really easy to be able to prep witnesses in there because of the technology that's in there. I can prep them a lot better with playing things for them. So that has benefited our office. That's a couple of the ways. So this is our chart of criminal cases that have been filed. As you can see, 2019 was a high point, and then it dropped significantly in 2020. And a couple of reasons behind that. One, obviously, was COVID. But as you remember, most of 2020, we essentially did not have a district attorney. We were basically being serviced by special prosecutors. So that's a big reason for that drop. Then we had a little bit of a pick up compared to recent years in 2021, and part of that was catching up from stuff in 2020. We had the drop in 2022, slightly and part of that was staffing shortage we picked up in 2023. And then to date, we have 279 cases filed. I anticipate that number is going to get bigger in the next couple of weeks, just based on what's going on within the office. And also, we're in the summer, so we do have a pickup in referrals during that time frame, just because we have more people in the county. So I do anticipate that we'll have about around the same amount of cases filed in 2024 as in the last few years. And you can see in looking at the felony cases that those have been pretty consistent, even compared to 2019. And actually 2023, we filed the same amount of felony files as in 2019. And then to date, we filed 128. And I always put the 2000 for comparison. Back then, we only filed 97 felony cases. So it really shows how things have taken off in the last 25 years. So one of the things I want to talk about are the drug cases that we have. And similar to last year, it's methamphetamine and marijuana are the ones that we are primarily dealing with. In 2023, we filed 68 cases that related to methamphetamine possession, use, it could be distribution, anything involving that. So far this year, we filed 36, and then 67 marijuana related cases were filed in 2023, and then 31 so far this year. One of the couple things I want to point out with that are that doesn't mean that each of those were separate individual files. There are quite a few cases that we have filed that individuals have both methamphetamine and marijuana. That's not uncommon. A lot of the marijuana cases, but even some of the methamphetamine cases, they will accompany other charges as well. As I was going through the list, I saw like we had a burglary charge that when the gentleman was arrested, he also had marijuana on his person. So definitely these can be mixed with other cases as well. One of the things that was a little bit encouraging about the methamphetamine is that they were more for possession than for the other types. There's been a little bit of a drop off of the delivery cases of possessions with intent. I know from talking with our detective with the Drug Enforcement Unit, we've had some dealers that we've been able to catch in the last couple of years through controlled buys. Some of them got some fairly harsh sentences, and I know that from talking with him, there's been certainly some chatter that I know some of the people that might be dealing are concerned about potentially going to prison if they get caught. So that is a little bit encouraging. Obviously, a lot of these people are still going to have sources. They may not be in Waushara County. Nothing we can do about that, but I think that's a little bit encouraging. Other types of drugs, we do have some of them. We have obviously some cocaine cases, some fentanyl, things like that. Little to no heroin though, and that's been kind of an ongoing thing. One of the reasons that methamphetamine has really replaced heroin as a lot of people's drugs of choice is methamphetamine is cheaper to get a hold of than heroin or other types of drugs. I will say we did have one case where we thought it was heroin and then it turned out to be fentanyl when the testing came back. Heroin and fentanyl are actually very similar in substances, so often we do see individuals confuse one for the other. They think it's heroin, but it actually winds up being fentanyl. It's not any better for the person that has those drugs, and obviously fentanyl is very potent and can be very dangerous. So we do have 2 pending drug overdose homicides that have been filed. I believe both involve fentanyl. One involves, I think, fentanyl and methamphetamine. Fentanyl can be used as what's called a cutting agent, which means that drugs that are, purportedly methamphetamine or other types of drugs can also have fentanyl in them. So even though we don't get a lot of people that overdose on methamphetamine, it still can be very dangerous because of potential for other drugs in there. And I will just note, I have to say this, our defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So those are pending. They are not resolved yet. So they still have that presumption of innocence. And I also wanted to talk about impaired driving cases. So as I said, OWI firsts are not criminal, typically, unless for a few situations. So we had 54 total criminal OWI cases, and that's basically First with a minor all the way through 7th, 8th, and 9th offenses. We did not have any OWI 10th and above offenses in Waushara County. I don't think either last year or this year. Somewhat encouraging. We filed 29 so far in 2024. And we had a total of 120, so that's non-criminal plus criminal last year and then 64 this year. I did want to talk about drug driving as well. It's not as prevalent as it might have been in recent years. We had 13 total involving restricted controlled substances in 2023. Slight drop off from 2022. I think we had 17 that year, but fairly close. We've only had one so far this year, but really in July, that doesn't mean much. It'd be more relevant if I was making this presentation in December because the crime lab takes a while to get the drug results back. What we do typically is that if we have enough just based on officer observations at the scene, we file the OWI complaint and then we wait for the drug results to come in. So it may be that later this year, some more drug results come in and we have more charges. Jury trials, as you can see, we've had quite a few since 2021. We had 10 then, and then DOJ handled a special prosecution. 14, that was a jump in 2022, and then we dropped down to 10. So far in this year, we've had 6, and I think that boils down to, I believe we've had 3 felony trials, and then I believe it was 1 misdemeanor and then 2 traffic cases. So that's the breakdown. We have a jury trial that's actually set to go on Thursday, so that would add to it. And that'll, I think, take us to basically where we were at last year. So not a huge change from then. We did have a felony OWI trial earlier this year, and then an identity theft trial. Those have been kind of the noteworthy ones. One of the things I've been trying to do is get my assistants into court more, so it's not just me handling all of these jury trials. So it gives me time to focus on other things as well. If you look at the 2021, 2022, and 2023, I think that adds up to 34 for our office, and I think I did 27 of those. So this year has been different. It's been 3 for me and then 3 for my assistant. We've done 2 in the courthouse so far, 1 in May, 1 in June, and they were both 4-branch. One was we had Judge Hendy come in for one and Judge Dutcher handled the other, and then the one on Thursday is set to be in front of Judge Blader. We have not had too many technical difficulties in jury trials so far this year. I think we did some mock trials before we did these jury trials, so it did give us an opportunity to kind of sort those out. I have found the technology in the courtroom is very effective for presenting to the jury, so that's another benefit, obviously, of being in this new courthouse. So just planning ahead, I obviously continued training for our ADAs. I think it's going to be a long process. Right now, I think I've been doing this 10 years, and I think combined between the 2 of them, they have about 2 years of experience. So they still have a long way to go. Training for law enforcement, I'm hoping that with my assistants taking on more responsibility, that allows me to do this more. We did have a training late last year for the Sheriff's Department. It focused on report writing and also trial testimony. I think it went over well. I've talked with both the Wautoma PD and the Red Granite PD about doing trainings for them on that topic too, and they've been receptive. It's been mainly a matter of finding time that works for all of us. And that is my report. Anyone have questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions for Matthew? No?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Very good. Okay. Then with that, we'll move on to section B, consideration of possible action on the following resolutions. Now, some of these resolutions we're going to do tonight, I just want to point out, I would like to encourage some discussion because they can be impactful. Some of them will be impactful for our budget. So if you have any questions, bring them out. They can always be sent back to committee if you have more questions that we can't answer. So with that, we'll move on. Resolution number 18-07-24. A resolution authorizing continuing the funding commitment for a second assistant district attorney position through contract with the state. Is there a motion to accept this?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved by Mr. Waddle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Urban. All right, is there any discussion? Anybody want any information on it or anything? Yes.
What does it cost the county?
So right now, the state has made the second district attorney position a 0.6 position. They pay all of the benefits. We pay 0.4% of the wages. And the state bills us quarterly for that. The reason that we need the resolution is that the contract with the state ends at the end of this year. In order to continue them taking on that responsibility to pay the person and not have to have a person paid both by the county and state, we need a new resolution to continue that funding. Matt, do you remember what the amount was for this year? I think it was, our share was $40,000.
That sounds about right.
It's about the same.
Yes.
Is there any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll vote on resolution number 18-07-24. Okay, and the resolution passes. All right, resolution number 19-07-24. Authorizing Waushara County to enter into the settlement agreement with the Kroger Company and agree to the terms of addendum 2 to the MOU allocating settlement proceeds. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. Urban, second by Mr. Bossart. Is there any discussion? Any explanations or anything?
So this is the next part of our opioid settlement or opioid case that we have ongoing. Kroger actually has a lot of presence in other county or other states that are more significant than Wisconsin. So Wisconsin's share of the settlement is about 1.8% of the $21 billion settlement. The way that the settlement proceeds would work in Wisconsin is that there would still be that 60% of that would come to the counties and 30% to the state. Doing some rough math, our share of that would be about another $50,000. I would say that right now we're sitting on just about $100,000. We are getting 2 more payments from other settlements this month. We've been handling the applications coming forward. We've been able to send people to trainings. We've paid for treatment for individuals. We've paid for sober living housing. We paid for some equipment. I will also note that we are one of the few counties around that are actually spending our settlement money. Other counties are still trying to figure out how to use that money. It has been a good thing for the county. It has saved taxpayer dollars in paying for cost of treatment and things that are not covered by insurance. So I think that this is the next good step, and I would recommend that we go along with this settlement.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, then we'll go ahead and vote on that. And it's the resolution number 19-07-24. Okay, the resolution passes. Resolution number 20-07-24. Now this one was brought forward, a resolution reorganizing the office of the medical examiner to add a full-time deputy medical examiner. Should we bring it forward as a thing first or just put it?
I actually am asking that this matter be postponed to the August meeting. we do need to do something different in the medical examiner's office. We have not been able to keep part-time people the way that it's been set up. And so our medical examiner, Amanda Toma, has been basically doing almost all of the work. She handles 98% of our response time. So it's pretty much a 24/7, 365 job for her. But in talking to her after we had been to exec, she's been doing some more work on what a schedule would look like. And given that this type of position would be subject to overtime rules after 40 hours, having an additional full-time deputy really isn't going to solve the problem, because it still really only gives her one 24-hour shift per week. And so we're looking at other options. And so we'd ask that this matter be set to August so that we can come up with a different proposal and schedules that would be more flexible and better meet her needs.
I would ask for this to be postponed to our August 12th exec meeting. Motion by Mr. Kirschner. There's second by Mr. Gray. Is there any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote on that then. Okay, so the motion is to postpone this. Okay, and the resolution will be postponed. It passes. All right, number 4, resolution number 21-07-24, resolution authorizing one additional environmental health specialist for public health. Is there a motion for accepting this? Motion by Mr. Urban. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossert. All right, is there discussion?
So this position would be one of our employees that fulfills our state contract to do the licensing inspections for all restaurants, tourist rooming houses, campgrounds, those kind of things. It also would handle some environmental concerns that we do for the 3 counties. So we have a 3-county Green Lake Marquette Waushara consortium. Waushara is the fiscal agent for that. This position would be funded through the fees of the program and our contracts with the other 2 counties. So there would be no additional tax levy for this position. The last time the state came to audit us, we had not met all of our goals in seeing every facility in the 3 counties during the year. So that's why we're asking for that position.
Okay, any other questions? Right, go ahead and we'll vote on resolution number 21-07-24 then. Okay, and the resolution passes. Resolution number 22-07-24, resolution adding a jail sergeant position within the sheriff's department. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Gray. All right, is there any discussion?
So this is a position that the Sheriff's Department has requested on multiple occasions. There was an additional letter that was forwarded to you today from Lieutenant McCoy, who is the jail administrator, on this position and the need for the position. Also earlier, you had gotten a copy of the job description as well as the paperwork that was filled out by the Sheriff's Department requesting this position. This position would be an impact to the tax levy. It is approximately additional $100,000 per year. And both Lieutenant McCoy and Sheriff Zilke are here if you have any additional questions.
Anybody have any questions? Need for? Yep. Would one of you guys want to come up and explain the need for it? Brad or?
I guess what specific questions would you have? I created I made a 6-page letter, outlining.
Could you just highlight the
Want me to
need?
read through it?
Yeah. Or just highlight what your basic need is for it, you know?
Okay, One full staff, we have 18 positions in the jail. It consists of 4 corporals, 1 for each shift who run the shifts, and then 3 additional officers on that shift. That's when we're full staff and nobody's off. We're requesting a sergeant position to be more of the eyes and ears on the floor, to be able to, I guess, consolidate the shifts. Each shift runs a little different, which causes issues with the inmates and within the shifts themselves. This position would also be responsible for assisting when we're at minimum staff. Due to a vacation or a vacancy, we only have 3 people working. One of them, it has to be in master control 24/7. So essentially they're kind of out of the mix as far as helping out with the inmates on the floor. This position would help those other 2 officers on the floor. There's a bunch of different tasks that I outlined as far as booking, medical, kitchen, transporting inmates to and from court. We have linen exchange, shakedowns, a bunch of different required documentation that we need for the Department of Corrections. There's a lot of different duties that need help with.
So basically, if you have one staff member off, that kind of puts you to not be able to do any
That
additional duties then.
That puts us at minimum staff, which we have 2 individuals on the floor at that point. Right now, we're running approximately 81 inmates in our jail, so it becomes a lot. And then if you have a fight or one inmate causing problems, they take up a lot of time. Our medical is a huge liability issue as well. Our medical tries to see between 5 and 10 inmates a day, and we have to have a CEO dedicated to our nurse because she's not certified corrections or law enforcement, so we need somebody there sitting with her while she visits with inmates.
Any other questions for Brad?
And then thank you for your letter. I want to just say, I really appreciated being able to go through that and understand more fully what this position entails. And part of that is also that this position is going to free you up to do parts of your job that you have been unable to accomplish at this point because of running ragged, doing overtime, weekend, free night work. Is that correct?
Yes, this will free me up to take a look at the bigger picture as far as policies and procedures, and take a look at how our jail is operating, and to try to make it more efficient.
And then also I understand that there's almost somewhere around $25,000 to $30,000 that you believe through increased revenue and the elimination of another position that would also help to fund this position. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I just want to expound on what Mr. Bossart said. When you came to Exec, I was asking for some more information. Really appreciate this. This really explains the need for this, and there's not a question in my mind that you are not looking for an additional person to work underneath you. Having that extra layer in there, it appears that's exactly what you need. My biggest concern is, do we have money in the budget for it? you know, I asked Ruth, do we have money? I asked, Sarah today, I stopped in early today and talked with her, asked her if she had, any indication if we're gonna have money in the budget for it. As probably as we all know, last year we pulled, what was it, $1 million out of general fund just to meet budget. And as it was pointed out earlier tonight, we were not able to find budget money or any money to supply body cameras either for the sheriff's department. So I know the resolution does read that if the budget warrants, if there's money in the budget to grant this, you will get that position. I believe that's how it's being written, right?
Yeah, this would be, so in order to have a new position that impacts budget levy, we need to have that come to the county board before we finalize the budget. And then it always is written that it would be if we're able to fund it through the budget process. So as the sheriff's department is putting together their budget, we would give them the numbers to put in that with that. And then their request would come to us. And as we put together the budgets for all of the departments, we have to make sure that we can meet that levy limit. And if we can't meet that levy limit, then we have to decide what we can cut. And the first thing we look at are positions that are new and not filled instead of positions that are currently here and have employees in them. So depending on how the numbers look for all the departments, we may have to revisit this, but I won't know that until we get everybody's requests.
And I did have a conversation with the sheriff last night about this. And I'm really glad to see that you've identified a couple areas where there's some cost savings there. And hopefully, you know, between now and then, you can find some ways to find some more low hanging fruit to be able to save some other money to be able to pay for that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Very good. I'm glad to hear this. Get to this out here. So hearing none, then let's proceed to vote on this. And that's resolution number 22-07-24. Okay, and the resolution passes. Resolution number 23-07-24, resolution amending resolution number 47-10-21 relating to the Department of Aging and Disability Services Transportation Program. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. King. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Johnson. Is there any discussion?
So as you'll recall, a couple of years ago, we brought home delivered meals in the transportation program in-house with the closing of Washera Industries. We had put that out to bid. We had one other entity who had bid on that. It was cost prohibitive. It was way more than what it would cost to bring that in-house. So we did bring it in-house. We've had some growing struggles, I would say. Debbie's here. She can answer some more questions. And where we find ourselves today is that we have not been able to really keep a consistent number of part-time people to do the driving for the medical appointments and the appointments that people are making. And so in looking at the plan, Debbie thinks that she will be able to better serve this need of having one full-time driver who would be in charge mostly of doing all of the minibus, so that is always covered. We would continue to use part-time drivers for meal delivery and some of the other medical transports. And then of course, we still rely on our volunteer driver pool, which has gone down in recent years, but we are still trying to attract more of those. Debbie does have program money that would cover the majority of this, and in her with her different pots of money from her grants and the Older Americans Act and transportation aids. So we believe that we would be able to start this position yet in 2024 with no additional impact to the levy. And then the only impact that might happen in the levy for 2025 would be any normal personnel increases that would come through the county HR. If this person were somebody who were to have health insurance and health insurance would go up or something like that, those costs would all have to be worked into Debbie's budget. But if anybody's ever seen Debbie's budget, she's pretty good at working those numbers. But she is here today if you have any other questions.
Does anyone want any more of a clarification? I think that was a pretty good one, but anybody else have any questions on this? Okay. Very good. Let's proceed to vote then. This is on resolution number 23-07. Okay, and the resolution passes. Resolution number 24-07-24. Initial resolution approving revenue bond financing for Bug Tussle Wireless LLC. Information with respect to the job impact of the project will be available at the time of consideration of the resolution. Is there a motion to accept? Motion by Mr. Weedle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gray. All right, let's discuss this. Now, this one will require three-quarter majority to approve. So is there anyone want any clarification on this? I think Mitchell is here, right?
Yep.
So from Bug Tussle. So does anybody have any questions or do you want some clarification on it? Other than what we got in our packets?
So I would note that this is an initial resolution. At the time that the bonding is to go through, there would be another resolution that'd have to come back to the county board to pass this. This is what we would call phase 2 of the Bug Tussle project that we've already been involved in phase 1. And it's similar to what happened before, where there's several counties involved in the bonding project. Then the bond is actually paid back by Bug Tussle. The county would be on the hook if they were not able to make their payments and all of their assets went. We had some discussion at the executive committee about this. Bug Tussle has a lot more infrastructure in Waushara County now that phase 1 is completed. So there's a lot more collateral on this, which decreases the liability that Waushara County itself would ever have to pay out on any of these bond issues. And again, Mitchell is here, but this is the initial resolution, and before any bonding is approved, there would be a second resolution. Also in your packet was an email from our bond counsel, Quarles, and they had indicated that they had reviewed it and found it to be in proper format and something that they were indicating could be supported by the county without any concerns from their perspective as our bond counsel.
And I might add too, that this is probably one of the main calls that I receive is from individuals wanting this phase 2 to be to start. So does anybody else have any questions or concerns for either Ruth or Barry or Mitchell? Okay. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Like I said, this is a 3/4 vote. Okay, and the resolution passes. All right, at this time, we will go to a closed session. Motion to convene a closed session pursuant to 19.855 of Wisconsin Stats. To consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and moreover, to review and submit information. Possible decision on final candidates and scheduling. Second, motion by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. King. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll go, we have to, okay, go ahead and vote. Okay, that passes, so we are in
Did we get a motion to second?
Keeps like logging me out.
We did.
I just went to this.
Yeah, Pat King made the motion and David Bossert made that.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back in open session. At this time, I would take a motion, to accept, Dan Miller, Tamara Feast, Megan Cap, and Ron Sari to move on as the final candidates for our county administrator position. Is there a motion by Mr. Kirschner? Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll, you want to vote on?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I didn't figure
Okay,
it out.
mine.
So Kirschner and Peterson.
Yeah.
I just have to check just real quick, so just 1 second.
You wouldn't like to sign back in?
Okay.
And it has to be a, we have to vote on our.
Four.
To move on, yeah. Not individually, just to bring four forward.
So we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, then we'll proceed to vote.
This won't let me sign in, so it's yes.
Yes,
Yes for you.
yes.
And Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, it's not, no, I'm okay.
Okay, the motion passes. All right, with that, then we'll move into board suggestions for future agenda items. Is there any suggestions for future items? Okay, hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay, motion by Mr. Wheel, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Bossert, we're adjourned, thank you.